But we should also be asking ourselves,
yes,
is it a constitutional moment?
Lakini Ben, unajua nyinyi ni mtu wa enzi kwanza. Na tuambie kwanza mdosi yako na zingine anasema tupitishe, si mbaya sana nini.
Wewe
kitu tusipitishe.
Wewe umekosa kufuata mdosi wangu.
Mdosi anasemaje?
Mdosi amekuwa very clear kwamba tukue na consensus. Let's bring everybody on board. You understand? Na hiyo ndio imekuwa msimamo yake.
But he said the document is not bad. What consensus do you need when you say the document is not bad?
But when he was in Bomas, he said it was not bad, but he gave his views. He gave his views on the ombudsman.
Also tell Bitok.
Yes.
When I say, if he says the document is good,
yes,
and I say the document is not bad, those are two entirely different statements. When I say Mudavadi, I would like to come to his defense. He never said the document is good.
Yes.
He said the document is not bad.
And he said there are gray areas.
Exactly.
He touched on the strengthening of the Senate. He touched on the independence of the judiciary. Making sure that the ombudsman is appointed by the judiciary. And he also talked on the commission, on the police, remaining the way it is. And such as it may be, my views on the BBI, by saying that it's not a constitutional moment.
Are you ready for collection?
For me, I don't know why I should be giving my signature, because I'm not yet even convinced. You understand? I'm not convinced that this constitution, this BBI, is for mwananchi. If you look at it, the biggest beneficiaries are the politicians. If you look at it, like I was reading somewhere, governors sasa term limit zao zinatolewa. Unaangalia? Kwa hivyo, if your governor has been corrupt, you will have to live with them, because they'll have a lot of money to keep coming back to you. And then with a weak Senate, what do we expect? Look at it this way. Ukiangalia wale wafikiri wataumia sana are the women reps. Because now if you take the 47 women reps, you are just changing them to become senators, but with nothing, no funds. Because when they are women representatives, they have allocation. They have a kitty to themselves. And then again, how does it help you to meet the gender role that we are looking for? Right now, we have women who have been elected senators. You understand? Yes. So, ukichukua our 47 and change them to become senators, and I say senators without portfolio, they become senators, then does it raise the number of that gender role? Or do we leave it that some women can run for Senate, and we have the 47 who are guaranteed? So ukiangalia vizuri kwa kimakini, BBI, I think it's just there to benefit two individuals who have always run with the idea, because every time Raila is talking, he will tell you tulikutana kwa Harambee House mimi na ndugu yangu Uhuru. You understand? So yes. Kenyans are not involved in this.
Kenyans are not in this.
And as my friend from D is saying, kwa ground vitu ni different.
All right. Yeah. Naona pia mkubwa Okiya Omtatah naona ameingia pale. Naenda kumchukua kidogo tusikie anasemaje pia. We need to bring him in. Atuambie what he thinks about the things that are going on in this country. Atuambie ni lini anaenda kotini. Nasikia civil servants wanaenda kutaksiwa zaidi ili kulipa wale ambao hawana kazi. Atatuambia ni lini atakimbia pale kotini. Naambia what goes on. Okiya, I don't know if you can hear me. Good morning. Okiya. Sijui kama unanisikiza. Please unmute yourself so that I can hear. I don't know if you can hear me. Unanisikiza? Good morning. I can't hear him. All right. Well, I'm setting him up. Sijui kama kwa nini anisikizi, but let me see. Kuna shida hapo, kuna taniangalia sijui kama. All right. Omtatah, good morning. Good morning. Okiya? Sikusikizi sijui kwa nini sikusikizi. All right. I don't know why I can't hear you. Good morning, Okiya. All right. Let me look at it, then I'll get back to you shortly. But anyway, as I'm fixing Kia Muchendu, I would want to pick you up on the issues of PEV. You know, we were talking about reviving PEV issues. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that the idea that the DCI would go behind the cameras and dare do that, it is the height of the insincerity of politicians in this republic. 2007 was the lowest Kenya could have seen politically in its history.
True.
And therefore, this is a scar that we must do whatever we can not to open it up. It is a scar that continues to heal. It is part of our history that is dark. We cannot erase it. Yeah. But we have an opportunity to actually put it in our past. When you come and you tell us that you have new, were they 67?
Yeah.
67 witnesses. And these 67 witnesses are only giving tales of post-election violence happening in one corner of the republic. I'm still waiting to see another 67 witnesses telling us of the skirmishes in Naivasha. I am waiting to see the people who are responsible for skirmishes in Kibla,
and in Kisumu,
in Mathare. These are if we are dealing with post-election violence, for real, can we start with the post-election violence in 1992 that started at Kuresoi? That is why the first post-election violence in this country ever started. I have friends in Limuru who were chased away from Kuresoi in 1992. They came with their parents as small boys. They are now nurtured Lemurians who have blossomed business-wise in our place. They owned land there that they have never been able to occupy. If we are talking about dealing with injustices, it must not be lost that 2007 was not the first skirmishes in this republic. 2007 was not the first. Let us get justice for those people who are kicked out of Kuresoi, those people who are kicked out of Moro. If it is about justice, that is it. If it is about justice. But if you ask me, whatever Kinoti is doing is politically instigated kind of hate politics in this republic. The president is captured in Kisii, blaming Raila Odinga for the 2007 skirmishes.
You know, it is sad because if there is any handshake that happened between anybody and the president, there was the handshake that took place at Afra Stadium between President Uhuru and the Deputy President William Ruto. And this handshake happened because of the skirmishes. We wanted to forget about 2007. You know, and they told us it is a new beginning, and they told us tuko pamoja. And it is sad that instead of now focusing ahead, we have BBI, which is supposed to be building bridges. And by building bridges, we mean that we are trying now to bring everybody together, every Kenyan together, so that we can walk forward together. And I'm telling, I believe this, if this is not Kinoti, if Uhuru's hand in what Kinoti is doing, then Uhuru is going to leave a terrible, divided nation, and the legacy will be a legacy that nobody will want to think about again. Because look at it this way. Rwanda had genocide. And they have created a mausoleum where they go so that when you look at this, you tell yourself, never again shall we let ourselves get to this. If Kinoti is fair enough, let him go back to Wagala massacre. You understand? And come up from where these things have been happening so that we know. Because honestly, I'm not a supporter of Ruto, but I can clearly agree with him that this is just to target William Samoei Ruto.
Let me tell you why.
Yeah.
These witnesses they purport to have gotten, they are giving testimonies of what happened in Eldoret.
Yes.
Which community was the most affected in the Eldoret skirmishes? It was the people of the Mount Kenya.
Yes.
Who has become a headache in the politics of the republic to those pro-government? The deputy president has made inroads with the Kikuyu nation. And every day he becomes popular in the Mount Kenya. And the only way they thought of deterring the star of the deputy president within the mountain region was to remind the mountain region what happened in Eldoret. That's basically what they are doing. They're just playing petty politics to target the DP because of how he has gotten himself within the Kikuyu nation and asserted his authority as a leader in the Republic of Kenya. So therefore, I am also waiting, eagerly waiting, to hear the 67 witnesses of what happened in Naivasha. Go to the Philip Waki, read a report of Amze who lost 11 members of his family in Naivasha. Doesn't he require justice?
Sure it does.
The Kikuyus who their houses are occupied in Mathare to date, people don't pay rent. Don't they require justices? Cannot you please do not take us for a ride? If you are investigating post-election violence for 2007, please investigate it holistically. Let us not see you to be being used by political cartels within government to fulfill. You remember the other day they gave poisonous food to the people of Kikuyu constituency. We have not known. We gave you the vehicle that was used. You can easily trace who owns that vehicle and therein bring the culprits to justice very easily. You have not done that. The thieves of Corona money are still enjoying the billions, while NHIF is telling us we are on our own. Why can't you put the most important issues up front? Don't open wounds that have not quite healed. If you open wounds that are not quite healed, zitakuwa kubwa, and the legacy of the His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta will not be a good one if he leaves this country divided. It is not the first time or the second time he has sworn that never again shall we have post-election skirmishes, but you are doing exactly that by reopening woods that were about to get healed. 2 elections after, ndio umepata 67. There is a whole commission that was brought and investigated and realized there was nobody they could charge. But miraculously.
Yes.
All right, let me see if I can find, let me see if I can still find Okiya. Good morning.
Morning to you.
Good to see you. Finally, I can I can find you finally. Good morning. How are you doing?
Not bad.
Good to have you, sir.
Thank you for hosting me and welcome.
Nashukuru sana kukuona. Na many people wanaulizanga Okiya ni nani?
Go to the internet, they'll get an answer. I'm just a Kenyan citizen.
Waende internet ndio watapata jibu.
Enough has been answered on that question.
I'm
just a citizen of Kenya.
All right. So let me ask you, Okiya. By the way, you've not seen a lot of activities from your end during Corona season. Probably you're on, maybe you're taking a sabbatical kidogo, but it's good to have you back. The government is planning to tax civil servants to pay the unemployed. What are your thoughts on the same?
It's a political question that should be determined by the MPs who have elected.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not for me to decide that one.
But it affects Kenyans. You say you're a citizen.
Yes, I'm a citizen, but I have elected an MP. And that's a political question which they should answer. They must have reasons why they are proposing that. Let us see the reasoning behind it. And then if it is reasonable, we support. If it's unreasonable, we don't support. Yeah.
All right. Your thoughts also on the things that are happening on the platform about also the BBI ramshackle that's going on. We are talking about beginning to collect signatures, 1 million signatures in 7 days. Do you feel, as a user of the Constitution, because you've been seen in courts most of the time, do you feel it's time to amend the Constitution 2010?
Anytime you can amend the Constitution, the only thing is that the process you use must be constitutional. I don't think there's a time when you can say it is right or wrong, but the process must be right. And we have 2 processes for amending the Constitution. Government institutions and government functionaries have Article 256, the parliamentary route, which if you don't require to collect signatures. You make a bill, you take it to Parliament, you get a 2/3 majority. It goes to, if it doesn't have an entrenched clause, it goes to the president signs it into law. If it has got an entrenched clause, it goes to a referendum for ratification. or rejection. And so that's the route that's available, and the BBI should have taken that route. The popular initiative is for private citizens using their own resources so that the public can, nobody's locked out from that process. So I don't understand why the president and the state have abandoned their route and they want to hijack the route of Wanjiku. That's the only question that needs to be answered regards the BBI. There's a question of process that is a problem that needs to be clarified first, so that other things that are coming up can be addressed.
So you feel the process itself is flawed, not the timing?
From my reading of the Constitution, and if I have to be sincere to the Supreme Law, the process is unconstitutional. Because if you look at even the Gazette notices,
yes,
that Kenya issued, it's supposed to be a presidential decree, and the president does not work outside the law, so he does not anchor it on any law. It doesn't say which law this is that they're using. So is it that you have gone back to presidential fiat? And whether it is a president or not, why is it Kenya who is signing all these Gazette notices? Not the president. That 135 requires the president to act in person and in his own signature and seal. So I've got all these challenges that are coming up, and I think it then for me, I'm not able to look at the at what is being proposed, because I'm a strong believer in the rule of law. And where the law is being breached, then we need to cure the breach of the law before you look at the merits. So I believe that whatever is good is in the law. And as it was said some time back,
yes,
necessity is the
mother of invention.
No, is the creed of the slave, and the excuse of the tyrant. So there's nothing necessary outside the law. And that's the only thing I would say that we needed to look at and maybe be sober about it, and be able to respect this country. We cannot behave like we don't have a constitution. You even see in America, whereby they've elected a presidential-elect, the current president is still the president.
Yes.
So the BBI cannot be the law. We have a constitution that is in force, and we must abide and respect that constitution if we want to go ahead. Otherwise, we are losing anarchy upon ourselves. And so I cannot even discuss the merits of the BBI or the merits for that matter.
But even as you give concerns, and also several Kenyans also and leaders also giving concerns on the BBI report on what they feel, even the process that you're talking about. But I mean, it's continued to be pushed down our throats, because we are seeing now everyone are saying, let's have everyone on board. Let's have a discussion on what we need to put on the document before we even talk about collecting signatures. Today we are looking at the president and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. They're saying we are going to launch the signatures today. How does it make you feel as a Kenyan who has expressed concerns on the document that's going to be used on you?
I feel that we lack there's no political leadership in the country. It's totally empty, tabula rasa. It's an empty tablet. So I think we get to a point whereby things begin getting a bit bad, because I really would expect that the constitution would be respected, and whatever we do it within the constitution. This thing of saying the train is leaving, whatever you are coming or you are not, is nonsense. And I cannot buy into that. This is about my life. It's not about somebody occupying an office. This is about my life. The amendment might last 100 years. So it's not something you can rush around and say you are in or out. No. We are also having major concerns about, given that the BBI proposes a raft of amendments, which are also issues. What kind of referendum are you going to have? Is it a single question referendum or a multiple question referendum? Or all these things need to be determined. I've seen there's an advisory that has been moved before the Supreme Court on what threshold the county assemblies need to, for example, what is the threshold for a county assembly to approve a constitution amendment bill? Is it a simple majority, or is it a super majority, 2/3 majority, like it's required in the National Assembly? So all those things are major issues, and that's why some people have been advancing the issue that without a clear referendum act, what we have in the Elections Act for referenda is very, very shallow, cannot guide and govern referenda. We have had decisions in courts in Europe, which have determined how referenda that are democratic can be handled. And since democracies are a universal experiment, what bearing do those decisions in the courts in Europe have on us here? So I think that Parliament went to sleep and it needed to have done its bit. But this idea of saying
Hello.
that, either for or against something is too shallow. And it's time we got away from campaigning for or against something and go engage into dialogue and say, what are the merits of that, what are the merits of that? But it must be done within the law. Me, I'm a student of the law. I'm a creature of the law. And I even believe that in the end of time, as it is said in the Holy Book, that the law shall go forth from Jerusalem to the ends of the earth. This is the law. And the law that governs us. And when you breach the law, I don't go with you, because even in the Garden of Eden, it's because we breached the law that's why we lost paradise. So the rule of law is very, very important.
All right. Even I look at this. So what is the option for Kenyans? Because nobody's listening to Kenyans at this point. You're saying, okay, you guys, you can make all the noise that you want to make. You choose a side, because we've been seeing the people who are pushing for consensus, like you, Okiya Omtatah, are being told, guys, why are you arguing about a document that you never contributed to for 2 years? The document was here. They're telling you, instead of complaining about the document, take sides. What are the options that are left for Kenyans?
Well, there's only one side. There are no two sides about it. We are a government, we are a country ruled by law. That's why we are called the Republic of Kenya. We are not a kingdom. We are not an estate. The word republic in the name of this country is very, very fundamental. And you cannot say that's my way or the highway. Everybody, if the president is an employee of the people, he earns a salary. Whoever is talking, if it is Raila, is spending public money, all those rallies he's doing and running around his taxpayers' money. He's not using his own money. And so we cannot begin doing things that are extra constitutional and tell others where you choose sides. You cannot choose the side, any sides where the law is not applicable. Me, I cannot make a choice. But if it will be forced down, then we shall have to wait until the rubber meets the road. And then we'll express ourselves at that time. If it means rolling up our sleeves for whatever is necessary in the circumstances, we'll do. But I would really request that we pull back and abide by the law. So that we can amend, if it's amending the Constitution, amend. If it's a creeping coup to overthrow the Constitution, we reject it. So that we can get to a point whereby if it's an amendment, it's an amendment, they bring a sober amendment, we deal with it.
If it's not sober, or pambana nayo.
Yeah.
All right. So what are your thoughts on Constitution 2010? We are talking about, we are having groups who are saying, let's linda katiba mwaka wa 2010. What are your thoughts on Katiba 2010? Do you think really we're at a point where we can say, all right, Katiba 2010, we have loopholes that we need to seal?
The problem, we have one problem. The problem is not the law. Let us face where the problem is. It's not the law, it's the individuals. Individuals who have got no morals, who have got no vision, who don't believe that Kenya can be better than it is today, who believe Kenya has to be eaten up, who don't believe in creating new wealth, who have got no idea about research and development, who do not understand the role of political action in a polity like ours, who want to consume in New York, in London, in Brussels, while living in Kenya, so that all the assets they cannot develop this country to be like Brussels. So so we have got all these issues that come up, and I think that it's a problem.
So the problem is not even the constitution. The problem are the people who want to change the constitution every time.
People don't want to deal with the industrialization. No ideas, totally the mandate have been given. And that's what we need to change, both in opposition and in government. We need a new generation to come up, not in terms of age, but in terms of ideas, which can make Kenya realize its great potential. These relics of the colonial system have no role to play in our future. And that's what we should be addressing. So they tinker with the law and keep on confusing us. The law has never been a problem. There's nowhere in the law, even in the old constitution, there's nowhere where it says go and steal when using public office. When you have the word Republic of Kenya, it means you cannot use public office for self-aggrandizement. You must serve the people. You must have small government. You must have all those kind of values of republicanism. So I think that we need to look at the people who are running this country, on both sides, the opposition, the so-called opposition, the so-called government, and reject them as a group.
Do you think we still have an opposition even in this country, even as you mentioned opposition?
Like, so-called.
The government, the opposition is in bed.
They have no idea. So what they are saying is that if you don't allow us to steal with you, we'll blow the whistle. But if you allow us to steal with you, we'll help you carry the loot. And basically that's what the likes of Raila are doing. Yeah. And it's very sad for this country. Because even to keep Moi in power beyond the knee, you remember Raila crossed paths, changed sides, and they joined Moi and kept Moi in power for extra time.
They took the handshake again.
Yeah. So these handshakes have never been a handshake without a formula. It's nothing.
So it's nothing new, actually.
And if it's a problem of stealing elections, why don't we do what the Constitution requires? The Constitution requires accurate, verifiable, simple elections. Basically, the Constitution anticipates digital elections. Why don't we have them? Why are we stuck in this system that allows for stealing and what have you? Last time the Supreme Court gave orders that the servers should be opened. Why haven't they been opened up to now? So was that a problem with the Constitution? It's not a problem with the Constitution. It's a problem with the people who lead this country.
Sure.
And who think that things are only wrong if they are not part of them. And those who think that political power should be used for personal gain. It's not the BBI, it's not an amendment, it's not any law. Kenya is crying out for new blood in political office.
We need to inject new blood into the political space.
Shared, right from down the ground, from them. Pardon?
We need to inject new blood in the political stream.
Yeah, that's what is required, and that's what is missing. Not laws. We have enough good laws.
We have an influx of laws in this country.
Yeah.
Well, even as you mentioned, the culture of constitutional changes, where someone comes in, Okiya becomes president and says, now I'm going to shake hands with Bitok. Now you're my brother. We need to change the constitution to accommodate our political marriage. How do we fix the culture of personal expediency? Like the issues of national debate is reduced into personal conversations. Like, all right, let's change the constitution to accommodate an handshake. Let's change the constitution to accommodate a political pact. How do we fix this culture where every regime comes in and thinks they can change the constitution at will?
If we keep on electing these tribal chiefs, we shall always have that. But if the Kenyans were to get to a point whereby they elect people on the basis of their agenda, we will not have those kind of things. There's too much to do in Kenya that you cannot even think of the Constitution. The Constitution will be the last thing in any president who wants to develop this country. It will be the last thing. But in any politician who wants to develop this country. Even if you look at those who are pushing for political change, look at even, let us take the example of the ODM counties. How have they performed? They were in the opposition. Some of the worst counties are in the ones run by governors that were elected on ODM ticket. Tagarian theft and backwardness and what have you. So what are they offering us? Absolutely nothing. So let us not fool ourselves this way or one way or the other. This country is in a mess, and we need people to begin. We need a leadership that begins developing this country. I wish the president had stuck to his big four agenda, and said something is here now. When I look around, then he comes and tells us that during the State of the Nation address, that in the last 1 year, factories in Kiambu and they have been able to create good factory jobs and pulled so many people out of poverty. That's the narrative I want to hear from the president. I never hear it. You just get crap, absolute crap, coming from the president. Why? Because he has got no ideas what to do. And outside of Nairobi, Kiambu is burning. Kiambu is collapsing. They expect people in Kiambu to survive as peasants. Yet the economy of Kiambu and Nairobi is hardly different. When you drive, when you go to other areas of Ruaka, there used to be farmlands. Where have those farms gone to now? You have apartments. Where did those people living on those farms go to? Give them livelihoods away from the subsistence farming they were engaging in before their lands were taken over by apartments. So for heaven's sake, let us leave the law alone. Let us obey it. Obey the law and leave it alone. Then come back for political action. What's the role of political action in developing a country like Kenya? That's the question we should be asking ourselves. And then getting an agenda and people can drive that. Changing the law is one way of distracting us from what needs to be done.
So you're not looking at the real problem. What you're looking at is the bandaging and palliative care that we're giving ourselves, our Kenyans. Politicians are giving us palliative care.
It's not palliative care.
They're killing us the more.
They're hypnotizing us. Yeah, it's not palliative. There's nothing palliative about what they're doing. They're hypnotizing us. And then stealing from us when we are in France. So that's what we need to address. But a generation of Kenya is well educated. We need to begin pushing that agenda, and a new generation needs to emerge to drive this country to industrialization. In 1969, Pope Paul VI released an encyclical where he said the new name of development, the new name of peace is development. The new name of peace
is development.
Make the people rich. The people, you'll get rid of it and develop the people so that we can get people out of poverty and we'll enjoy a lot of the benefits of being rich. But when 90% of the population is struggling, is in squalor, we are not achieving anything. We are doing nothing.
All right. So maybe getting back to where an MP once said, we have how many millionaires? A country of how many millionaires and how many poor people? Maybe you're getting back to that conversation once again. Now, there is a story of, there's something that has been, that has really caused a lot of heatwave around the country. The reviving of post-election violence cases of 2007, 2008. What's your feeling on that?
I don't like commenting from newspaper headlines. And I don't have feelings about things. I usually think about things. I don't feel about things.
All right, what are your thoughts?
I've tried to think about it, and the other thing is that there is a dichotomy between peace and justice. If somebody was injured and he really has a case and he needs the case to be resolved and he knows a culprit, I wouldn't stop that person from looking for justice. The only problem is the politicization of justice in this country. You have seen when people have been arrested for corruption, their backyard has sent to come and stand by them to protect them, to block the law from reaching them. So to me, in this kind of matters, I would say that the state has a responsibility to punish perpetrators of violence. And people who suffered violence did not suffer violence as Kenyans. So this thing of saying we Kenyans does not arise. It's individuals who suffered violence. It's individuals who lost their people. It's individuals who had their properties burned. And it's up to those individuals to forgive or to have somebody punished. And if you strongly believe that somebody wronged you and he needs to be punished, then you can go ahead and pursue justice. So I wouldn't give a blanket condemnation of what is happening, and I wouldn't go by the newspaper reports to say what is happening, because I don't know exactly what the issues are. And I always believe in giving the government a benefit of doubt until I'm proved wrong. And so in this particular case of the post-election violence, we have also the post-election violence, I think, should be handled as a question of historical injustice. And if we want to address that thing holistically, then we need to go back and even look at the Ndung report, because when people are snatched their lands and whatever, that's violence. Violence doesn't have to be somebody sticking a machete in your back. So we have got the Ndung report, we have got the Kiumi report, we have got so many reports lying, the Bagala massacre, we have got all those things lying on the shelves of government. They can bring those things and we can do a serious truth and reconciliation forum and then get over that history. But for as long as those reports are lying on the government shelves and gathering dust, these matters remain alive and will keep on coming up. So I think if the government of Uhuru Kenyatta is determined to get to the bottom of this cyclic violence that we always encounter, I would ask the president to also look at the other reports and have a holistic approach to the whole issue, instead of leaving this issue lying there and gaining momentum, maybe to be misused like a ticking bomb. We get to the root of this thing and say these are the mistakes that this country has made. As a country, we have reached this resolution. We are going to forgive, but there will also be going to be restitution of this nature to the victims who have been identified and documented properly. So that's how I would address the whole thing. I would not get into a condemnation based on newspaper headlines, social media, and the kind of things. I don't know what the government is doing.
All right, that's what you think with the same thing. Now, let's look at you've mentioned the reports. We have a lot of reports in this country. The same way you have an influx of laws, we also have an influx of reports. And there's a convenience of picking the reports that matter. When you talk about the things that you talk about, for instance, is historical injustices, it has a basis all the way from independence. You're talking about Ndungula that has been done on land. There has been even the Waki report on 2007, 2008 elections. Even when you're talking about picking all these things and picking regions where you want to revive cases on where you feel that people are aggrieved, what informs where he's picked and where he's not picked? Why Eldoret? Why not Naivasha? Why not Kisumu? Why not every other place that we feel that these things will happen? And why the convenience of reports? Why are we not talking about addressing the whole historical injustices in the country?